What's up everybody? Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Jordan, and on this channel I discuss all things keto, carnivore, low carb, provide tips and tricks to help you get your health back on track, as well as sprinkle in some grocery hauls and full days of eating. So if you're new to my channel and haven't met my dog, that's her barking, her name's Callie, please consider subscribing down below. But I want to talk about something that comes up quite often with people I talk to about ketogenic diets, carnivore diets, low carb diets, see on forums, and that's energy levels. During this transition, this lighting is killing me. A lot of people end up losing energy, not feeling great, and thus quitting before they could really get full on into this new pattern of eating, new way of eating, and enjoy the benefits of it. So while I kick the soccer ball for her to run and play a little bit, and the first thing I'm going to say is that you are definitely going to suffer. Your energy levels are definitely going to suffer in the beginning, and there's a few main reasons why. So I'm going to go sit down so we could talk about some of these reasons in a more cordial, inviting setting without the dog barking and interrupting me every few seconds. So see you there in a second. Alright, so first things first. Again, I'm going to reiterate the fact that when going on a carnivore or ketogenic diet from a standard American diet or something that is higher in carbs, it's important to know that you will likely go through a transition phase that causes you to be more fatigued than normal. And I found that to be variable from person to person. A lot of us are brought up on sugar-laden formulas. We run on carbohydrates for the rest of our lives and never get to experience the benefits of ketosis. So again, that period may be variable for a lot of people. However, it's likely that you will see a significant decline in energy, potentially for a short period of time. So to combat that, what can we do to keep our energy levels up on a low carb, ketogenic, or carnivore diet, or just in general, but more specifically to this? First things first, I will say tip number one is going to be to get your electrolytes in, right? So as we cut carbohydrates and insulin levels return back to normal levels for extended periods of time, the kidneys are going to expel a ton of water. And what goes out with the water? Sodium and potassium and magnesium to some extent. So sodium and potassium I find to be the most important for me. What I do and what I think you should do to mitigate this factor of dumping electrolytes is obviously salt your foods. I say to taste, but if you're not used to having a lot of quality salt like pink salt, Redmond's real salt, then salt it even more than what you're used to. I also put salt in my water that I sip on throughout the day, whether it's this or anything bigger. I do probably a quarter teaspoon every time I fill that up, just to make sure, especially on days I'm very physically active, just to make sure I'm getting my electrolytes up and don't feel fatigued. For potassium, again, you can get it through animal foods, fish, eggs, shellfish, red meat, as well as some vegetables. And you could also use something like no salt, which is a potassium chloride powder. You dump that in your water and drink it. So get your electrolytes up. It's going to be crucial. Don't be afraid of the sodium, especially in the context of a low carbohydrate, low insulin diet like a ketogenic or carnivore diet. Okay, the second reason you're likely fatigued is your body is going through this transition that I talked about between carbohydrates and fats. It's still not very sure what dietary substrate to use, and it's now depleted of glycogen stores because of the extended periods of time without dietary carbohydrate, and it's still seeking that glucose for energy. So what can you do? Well, it's important to know that aerobic exercise is going to mobilize fat more efficiently than anaerobic exercise. So anaerobic exercise, i.e. high intensity interval training, sprints on a bike, things like that, weightlifting, you're going to acutely use more glucose. But aerobic exercise like long walks, slow and steady jogs where you're getting your heart rate up to about 60-65% of max for extended periods of time, probably longer than 10 minutes, is going to mobilize fat, thus allowing you to break that down into ketones for energy more quickly, than you would not exercising at all or doing high intensity interval training. So utilize aerobic exercise, long walks with your dog, with your family, jogs, light jogs, things like that will help your body become more used to using fatty acids for energy. It's important to know that your body is not going to produce ketones in the presence of liver glycogen, so you do need to deplete that first. It'll probably take a couple days at most of either carbohydrate restriction or fasting, combination of both, or exercise. You could burn your liver glycogen those 3 ways. Talk about this numerous times in multiple videos, that your body will not produce ketones unless you have depleted liver glycogen in long periods, extended periods of time, spit it out, with low or regular levels of insulin. So burn through your liver glycogen by cutting your carbs, i.e. keto or carnivore diet, and then incorporate aerobic exercise to mobilize fatty acids to be converted by the liver into ketones. Third reason you could be suffering with energy levels on a ketogenic or carnivore diet is because you're inefficient at using ketones. So I know we just talked about how to get your body adapted to using fatty acids, thus ketones, as energy. But in the beginning, you're going to be inefficient, right? Your mitochondria, your cells are going to be more susceptible and used to taking up glucose for fuel than they are fatty acids. So there needs to be a conversion time. It could take 8-10 weeks for some people to really get used to it. So you have to try to stick it out, especially the first 30 to 60 days. You have to fight through this gray area of energy and inefficiency. But it's going to vary person to person. In the beginning, you're going to excrete a lot of ketones, which is why you see a lot of people using these urine strips, peeing out really dark colors of ketone, registering high amounts of ketones, because they're taking in all this fat, MCT oil, coconut oil, that's quickly being converted into ketone bodies, but the body's not efficient at using them, so it's excreting out a lot. Or you are taking in more medium chain triglycerides than the body really even needs for energy, so it's going to waste a bunch through urine, so they will show up on your ketone strips as well. But it's good to keep them high for the first month, because you do need to force your body to transition from carbohydrate metabolism into fatty acid metabolism. So definitely keep it high for the first 30 days, maybe 45 days, but then you can start cutting that back a little bit and let your body actually use stored body fat on your body for energy. Reason number 4 you are suffering from low energy on this way of eating is you're just not sleeping well. And that can be, again, variable from person to person. I get by fairly comfortably, especially when I'm in ketosis, from 5.5 to 6.5 hours of sleep all in one shot does me just fine. Some days I may feel more tired than others if the kids are in the bed during that 6.5 hours and moving around a lot, waking me up without me even really knowing it, so on and so forth. But if I have to get up at 2 a.m. and walk the dog and get 6.5 hours, that interruption in the middle of the night tends to leave me feeling a little more groggy in the morning. So it's important to get whatever sleep is right for you in one shot when possible. You may also not be sleeping well because of the lack of carbohydrates in the diet now. Some grains are going to be precursors to serotonin, which is a precursor to melatonin, and they're going to help boost serotonin levels. Not to mention, everybody knows, coming from a standard American diet high in carbohydrates, that carbohydrates and the insulin spike and then crash make you super tired. So most people are having a lot of glucose just before bed, a couple hours before bed, and when that insulin crash happens, they're tired. So that's helping people fall asleep a little bit more quicker, as well as, again, some grain-based foods influence on serotonin levels, and you won't have that anymore. I feel more well-rested, full of energy, with less sleep than I did when consuming carbohydrates. And even now, anyone in this household, my wife, my daughters, will tell you, like, if I'm in ketosis and I'm having my normal carnivore meals, I'm waking up without an alarm by 5:30 in the morning on 6 hours of sleep, feeling full of energy. And the nights I have carbs, I'm either falling asleep drooling on myself, on the couch, which is why I probably shouldn't have carbs too often. Or I am having to set an alarm to wake up by a reasonable time to get myself moving for work. So there is an acute impact on me personally and others that I talk to eating this way. So I can imagine the same thing for most of you. So just be ready for a transition period when it comes to your sleep as well. And the last thing I will say, and this is something that has gotten me over the years, is your low energy could indeed be due to too many stimulants, or maybe one stimulant like coffee, caffeine, too frequently. And your adrenals and your body and your parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous systems have become accustomed to having that stimulant to keep you going. So it's important to cut back. I mean, that's just what it is. There's no way around it. Enjoy your coffee. I love the taste of black coffee. We always buy good, organic, quality coffee. I'm always trying multitudes of varieties and flavors and roasts and things like that. So enjoy your coffee. Again, I won't be the person to tell you not to, but I'm saying if you are constantly fatigued and you're sipping on it throughout the day, you do need to cut it out because it is not helping you or your energy levels, especially if you are transitioning into this way of eating and your body is in between fuel substrates. You should probably give your body a break and let it produce its own energy naturally. Those are my 5 tips for combating low energy. Those are the 5 most common things I see when it comes to people who are suffering with their energy levels, and those are the ways you can address them and fix them for the long haul to get you loving this way of eating, enjoying and reaping all the benefits that it does provide, because there are plethoras of them. I hope this helps you all solve some of your problems. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments down below. Share this with anybody you would think would find this information valuable. I appreciate you tuning in more than you even know. Check all my links down in the description below. And again, if you have any questions about them, let me know in the comments. I appreciate you watching. Until the next time, keep up the good work and let's get healthy together. I'll see you later.